There is a moment in the 1936 Berlin Olympics that still gives me chills every time I think about it. 9 young men, working-class kids from the Pacific Northwest, sons of loggers and shipyard workers and farmers, they're sitting in a wooden boat, about to race for the gold medal in front of Adolf Hitler in a crowd of thousands, who expected a German victory. These weren't the biggest rowers in the field. They weren't the most celebrated, and several of the crews they were up against had been training in elite programs with elite resources for years. And guess what? Those working-class kids won. Not by simply grinding it out, not by outworking everyone in the final 100 meters. They won because in that boat, in that moment, something clicked that the other crews couldn't match. They found what rowers call swing. I'm Seth Winterhalter. This is the HaltingWinter podcast, where we talk about leadership, public service, what it actually takes to build a meaningful, purposeful career in local government. This episode is the second book as we work through our summer series called The Stories That Shape Leaders. All summer, we're stepping away from the typical leadership type of books that we work through, and we're looking at stories, these narrative works that illuminate leadership principles, not through models and frameworks, but through real human experience. We are working this week through one of the best books. And in fact, if you haven't watched the movie, again, you're missing out. You got to read the book, got to watch the movie. It's called The Boys in the Boat. The book is by Daniel James Brown. And if you haven't read it, here's the short version. It follows the University of Washington's 8-oar crew team. Again, 9 men in a boat, but it's an 8-oar crew team that rows. It happens in the 1930s, the early 30s. And this is about the team that claws their way from real obscurity to the 1936 Berlin Olympics. The emotional center of the story is on a young man. His name is Joe Rance. It's a teenager whose backstory is just, heartbreaking and yet amazing. He was abandoned by his family. He was working his way through school on almost nothing. He walked onto that dock with just this raw talent that he obviously didn't know what to do with, and not many other people knew what to do with. And here's why I think this book is just so fascinating. For a long time, all of that talent wasn't really enough, and it wasn't because of anything physical. It was because Joe could not trust the people, the other 7 rowers in that boat. I think this book and the insights, they speak directly to the people I spend most of my time with, and that's local government leaders. Now this is not a business book, and Daniel James Brown wasn't trying to write a new leadership framework. He was trying to tell a true story about a remarkable group of young men during one of the most turbulent periods in modern history. And yet almost every page has something in it that I think can land for you as a city manager, county administrator, a department head, trying to build something that actually works inside of all of the challenges and constraints that come with public service. Remember, the story is set in the Great Depression. These rowers had no money, no guarantees, no safety net. They were competing against Ivy League crews with far more institutional support. They were underdogs in the truest sense of the word. Not the fun movie kind, but the kind where the odds are genuinely not in your favor, and yet you show up anyway. Now, there's a character in this book who is really just remarkable. His name is George Pocock, and he's not a coach. He's a boat builder. He's a craftsman who worked out of a shop in the attic above the boathouse. And the rowers, they keep finding their way up those stairs to have these conversations with him. The conversations are unique because Pocock has this just real clear, direct way of seeing things and saying what he saw. There's this tension point in the book, and you see it in the movie, when he finally gets through to Joe Rance, again, this all-star rower. He sits down with Joe, and he tells him directly, he says, "You are rowing like you are the only one in the boat. You're trying to carry the whole crew across the finish line through sheer individual effort. And that approach, as admirable as it looks on the surface, is actually holding the entire team back." He told Joe that to row at the highest level, you had to trust the people around you completely. You had to open up yourself to the rhythm of the whole rather than just grinding it out on your own. And when you do this, when the crew does this, when you become one with the rowing and with your strokes, the boat does something that you cannot manufacture individually on your own. It's called swing. And it's one of the most powerful ideas I think that you can encounter as a high-functioning team in any capacity, not just rowing, but in public sector organizations. So here's what I want you to chew on this week, and this would be a great week to dive into the MLDC, unlock the daily podcast, the daily blog posts as we dive deeper into the insights from this unique book, from this unique angle. But here it is. The Boys in the Boat isn't just a story about rowing. It's a story about what it costs to be part of something larger than yourself and what you gain when you finally stop holding back. Pocock had this way of talking about the water, how the water is your enemy. It resists every stroke. It pushes back against everything you're trying to do. But that same water, even as it's your enemy, it is also the source that's holding the boat up. It's the very resistance that opposes you, but also what makes forward movement possible. Then he says, so is life. For local government leaders, I think there's an idea here that we can draw on, that we can chew on, because the resistance you face in your specific, unique line of work is real. Budget constraints, council dynamics, community pressures, the organizational inertia, those things can feel like a permanency, a cement. The question Pocock's idea asks is whether you're being defeated by that resistance or you're allowing it to shape you and your team, your organization for the better. That's what we're chewing on this week, and I just want to encourage you. I think this is it's such a great book. Watch the movie at least. Put it on your to-watch list. I'm sure you can find it on Amazon or Apple or wherever. If this is the week for you to join and be a part of what we're doing here in the MLDC. Again, this is just, the MLDC is just, I just see a need. I see a need. Again, I just want to be a resource for connecting you. I want you to be connected to other local government leaders because I think many of you live in isolation. Yes, you're part of state organizations and associations, and those are awesome. I'm a huge supporter of them. But I think we're doing something unique in the MLDC, not only to create a network, but to create a community that has a daily, remember, we're giving you daily content, short, easy, and not overwhelming, so it's impossible to get to. You can take all of this content just in minutes and just continue to sharpen the blade of your leadership, because it's not in the great grand things that are going to blow your mind and shape your leadership. It's really in the tools that you already know, but we forget. We forget, and we become dull in the very things that matter the most. So, HaltingWinter.com/MLDC. Again, Halting, HALTING, HaltingWinter.com/MLDC. Check it out. Join us. Go to the link in the show notes. I'm Seth Winterhalter. Until next week, keep leading with impact.